Hey there, my little rat. Are you ready for a Ratitude check? Because I am. And if you saw the title of the episode, it is a chronic illness survival guide because somebody wrote that in the rat chats and I screenshotted what everyone wrote. So those episodes are coming up because I love you. So thank you. I thought today was the perfect day for this one because I feel like shit. It's seriously, so yesterday, it was just one of those hard diabetes days. And this episode will definitely talk about diabetes and talk about chronic illness because I've got some other things and I've got friends with chronic illness and I think I have a pretty good understanding of what it's like to live in a chronically ill body, being someone who lives in a chronically ill body. But specifically yesterday, there's just these tough days where, my numbers go just, to dangerous places and it really takes it out of me. And so yesterday I went to lunch with my friends and I got a meal that should just be a joyful meal. But of course, with type 1 diabetes, it can't always just be a nice experience eating. Sometimes it gets really stressful. Sometimes you analyze that stress before you eat. Sometimes as you're eating, that anxiety hits. Sometimes it's after. And for me, it was after this time because I was really happy to eat a crispy chicken sandwich with fries. I don't eat, and this is we are going to talk about food in this episode because honestly, if you're chronically ill, you probably are very aware of your diet, no matter what, just in terms of health and vitamins or what works in your body, what doesn't, whatever, right? So for me, I don't actually eat many starches, which makes me really sad because one of my favorite foods growing up was potatoes. I love potatoes. My diabetes hates when I eat potatoes. So it's rough. So I got fries with this crispy chicken sandwich, and I thought it would be okay because we were walking afterwards, and we were walking to the movie theater, and it was a 30-minute walk, so I thought this will be fine. Gave myself a good amount of insulin. I even pre-bolused, and then we're sitting in the movie, and my numbers are just skyrocketing. They're at 19.9, that's when my stress really started kicking in, and then it entered the 20s. Stress was getting really high because honestly, at around 21, 22, it's kind of like hospital level from what I heard from the 2 times I went to the hospital due to high blood sugars. So, then I just didn't enjoy the movie at all because I was just genuinely so stressed out because I couldn't get the numbers to come down and they were up there for a very long time, which I probably should have left. These are the things so talk about chronically ill guide. These are the moments when I look back and I'm like, Taylor, you should have just said, I'm sick, I've got to go, guys. And yet I fight through them because I think I'm still very attached to being a normal human who doesn't have to interrupt a movie lunch day with her friends because she's sick. And that is just the honest truth. I also want to say, I'm glad Zach was on last week because I want the podcast to be more cheerful. But as I explore life, I love comedy, but for some reason when I start talking to you guys, I don't know, is it sad? And yet I read the reviews the other day and so many people wrote so many nice reviews. If you haven't written a review yet, we have I think 5 to 9 reviews. I think I have. Yeah, I think 9, and I read them all and I literally started crying because they were seriously so nice. They made my day. So if you left a review, thank you so much. I haven't seen the Spotify reviews. Apparently those are harder to find and track down, but I read the Apple ones and they were just genuinely so nice and it just was really kind. But anyways, hindsight, I should have left. I didn't. I just sat there. I kept dosing insulin, so that wasn't so much the problem. But it got to the point where I had 20 units on board. And okay, if you're not type 1, I won't explain all this stuff, break it down wise, but just understand I was doing my best to fight this fire and it just wasn't working, which really adds to the stress. And I was up there for a while, and after that I've felt really sick since, and it's been almost 24 hours. So I'm really hoping, I've been drinking a lot of water today, and I'm really hoping to just get fluids back into my body because that's part of the risk. I technically I have these little sticks I have to pee on when my numbers go up that high, and it's so dumb. Why didn't I do that when I got home? I don't know why I don't think of these things. Again, I guess that's a part of the guide. Honestly, it takes a while to know how to be a chronically ill human, especially if you're diagnosed with these things at later ages like I was. It is just not a part of the routine. These days are not the norm. The way you navigate them you don't have the tools all the time. Like it's like a first time for everything kind of vibe. It's like being a kid again and experiencing all these like life experiences but in a different body. So it's genuinely like being a kid again and trying to navigate those things to the best of your ability. But I think the number one tip I have for chronically ill people, and if you are a friend of someone who's chronically ill, I do think this episode could be helpful because more awareness, more understanding. Something I always wish is like, no one, and this is not a read, like if someone who knows me, I'm not calling you out. It's just something I noted now as a sick person. What I would appreciate is people doing their own research. It means a lot to me when someone does their own research. Like the other day, Zach asked if he could come to my appointment to better understand things. And like that meant a lot to me, and he's my husband. So it'd be maybe a little weird if you asked to go to your friend's appointment, but maybe not, because the other day at this lunch, I was talking with my friend and she had some big appointments coming up. And I really felt like offering to her, like, I'll come with you, by the way. And we had a good chat about it. And I said, just so you know, you're supported. I am a phone call away. I can be there. I can wait in the waiting room. Like, you let me know how to support you. And I actually had a really interesting conversation the other day with another group of people, and we were talking about disabilities. And it's tough because, for example, like I've met a lot of disabled people in my life. Everyone will have, whether you paid attention to it or not. And one of the biggest complaints, I think, is that people with disabilities are just being treated weirdly. It's either this weird silence and ignorance and purposeful, like, ignoring because, like, I'm uncomfortable, I don't know how to talk to you, or it's this weird, like, child level sensitivity. And you're, like, belittling almost the person with the disability because you're, like, treating them like a child, which is also not good. So, for example, that asking to go to the appointment thing, that could enter that category if you don't do it well. So some people will therefore just choose silence. But that's the problem. Like, that beautiful in-between is actually what we need and want in the world. We need people to be able to know how to ask the questions, to be able to support someone or ask someone how they need support. But the onus is not just on the supporter. The onus is also on the person with the chronic illness or the disability to explain what you need. You need to get really good about that. Like, talk about the guide. The guide, step number 1, you need to learn how to vocalize your needs. It's very important. You cannot just assume that someone can read your mind and read your needs. It doesn't work like that. It just doesn't. So communicating them, and then if someone ignores that, then they're a piece of shit, right? But they're not a piece of shit immediately. And I think there's like a lot of space I like to leave a lot of space for people to say the wrong thing because I prefer them trying. I do not like the silence and the ignorance. That pisses me off, quite frankly. Like, it just does. Like, when I'm somewhere but I get it. Like, I'm like, when I'm somewhere and my medical alarm goes off, a lot of people just choose to ignore it, but they don't just ignore it like it was a text message. It's like an awkward, like, okay, that was her thing. We'll just pretend it didn't happen for her. Now, their brain might be saying, this is good because then she can feel like everyone else, like that wasn't a big deal. I see that, but at the same time, like, you are a human that just heard a medical alert and you've never done a check-in with me. So that's weird. That's you choosing to be comfortable in your silence rather than potentially being uncomfortable and saying, all good, Tay? And it's like, yep, all good. Now, if I responded like, hey, like when that goes off, I actually don't need you to check in, then you have permission to not check in. Totally, right? But if no one's ever done that check-in with me, I just assume a little bit worse, But I never like assume the worst out of people. I never assume like they're evil or anything like that. Because again, the onus is on me as well to communicate my needs. Like when I was in a comedy program for a year, I expressed to the teacher when I was sick and couldn't do an activity in that moment. And it was clunky, and that's okay. And they tried to let me do the activity while sitting, and that's when it entered you're kind of now treating me like a kid, and I don't want that. I'm a grown adult. I will let you know how I can participate. So I can see how if you were able-bodied or didn't have a chronic illness, how scary it could seem to make a move to be a active supporter. I understand that because it feels like there's no winning. It feels risky on both ends. But I would like to say that most people are understanding. Like, I'm an understanding human. Like, I didn't go home and go, oh my God, that idiot teacher. Like, no, I was just like, LOL. They took it a step too far. That's okay. If I have an issue with that, I can talk about it afterwards privately with them, like very casually, because nothing wrong happened, but again, it's up to me to voice like how I need things to work. And that's why I think there just needs to be so much space to be wrong as long as the intention is right. And I think intention is just so much the key. Like, if your intentions are good, you can even say that. Like, if someone came up to me and was like, hey Taylor, I mean this with like the best intentions of finding the right support that's gonna be comfortable for you. When your medical equipment goes off, what's the best course of action for me, since we're gonna be in the same circle for the next 3 months doing this project? That to me, I'd be like, oh, amazing. Thank you, Kelsey. This is what I normally say when someone asks me that, like, I'm normally really good at managing my disease, but I will ask for help if I need it, and I really appreciate you checking in. That's the kind of check-in I often give. Like, I will communicate to you when I need help. I'm really good at that. But I appreciate the check-in because now me and Kelsey, like, now when I come to need help, I will be going to Kelsey. Right? Because she opened that window, and that's just really cool. It's clunky. I get that. I get that in the world we live in today, especially because some things are said, like, I used to do faux freckles, and online people would be like, how dare you? I got bullied for that when I was a kid. Like, people who communicate like that suck. What I always say this to people, it's like, what you're saying might be super, super valid, but if you can't communicate it nicely with respect, you suck. You suck, okay? And the person you're trying to reach out to with the chronic illness or whatever, they will be able to see your intentions. But if you're uncomfortable, I think it's totally fine to announce your intentions. And also, don't do it in front of a bunch of people, like normal appropriate behavior, right? Like, a private moment, no problem. Or like, you could have the incident, maybe my beeper goes off, and in the moment you're like, oh, I don't want to embarrass her in front of the class. Okay, whatever. Check in after, like, you go, hey, like, I noticed your medical equipment went off during class, and I wanted to be able to support you, but didn't know how in that moment. So I apologize, but I would really love to know if you ever need anything from me, you can let me know, or anything like that. Like, I think it's okay. And oftentimes the answer might be what I say to people, I'm really good at managing my disease, but thank you very much. But at the end of the day, you were an ally. Like, you know what I mean? And it's not that hard. It might be uncomfortable, but when that person needs help, you've opened up that pathway, and that's really, really freaking cool. Look, you need to be able to communicate with people. That is just like the key to humanity. And both sides need to be able to communicate well. That's like the key. So if you are the person with the chronic illness, you got to figure out how to communicate things. If you have a friend who hasn't engaged enough in your chronic illness and it's hurting your feelings, you need to talk to them. And it's okay to talk to them as long as you do it nicely and with respect and understanding and communicate your needs. You need to be able to communicate your needs. I think it's very okay if the needs conversation is clunky. Do what I do when I have to have uncomfortable conversation. Make a shit sandwich or an uncomfortable sandwich, right? So you can say, hey, Joey, this might be an uncomfortable conversation, and let me know at any time if it is, but I wanted to check in about X and just see if I can support you better in any environment, or to just let you know that I am here and feel free to communicate to me any of your needs in the future. I'd really like to support you through this project together. Like, things like that. Like, you're prefacing it, you're not trying to be a dick, but if you want to also be an ally, like, these are the helpful things you can do, and again, in appropriate times, in appropriate settings. And it shouldn't feel like, I just got to say, and this might just be me, it shouldn't feel like a wanky little conversation, okay? I don't want to have some sort of deep, wanky, hushed voices like, hey, Taylor, I know your thing went off in class today. No, please, no. But if we're walking to the subway together after class and you're like, oh, by the way, Taylor, like, I know your thing went off. Would you call that a medical alert? I know your medical alert went off in class. in the future, if it goes off and you need any help, just know I'd be happy to help you if you ever want to communicate what you need. Like, it's just casual. It's just casual. It's like, I just want to be a human. Like, anyone just wants to be a human existing. And if you feel the need, like, to be an ally to that human or want to be an ally to that human, you have to ask for permission. You don't get to just assume that you get to support this human. Like, they might not want your freaking support, and that's okay. Like, that's okay too. And it's okay if you ask and the answer's no. It's okay. You didn't do anything wrong. If you're coming from a good intentioned place, I just really think the world needs to talk to each other more. We don't talk to each other enough. It's crazy. It's so crazy. And it goes past chronic illness. Like, check in on your friends who are first-time parents. Check in on your people. It doesn't have to be wanky. Doesn't have to be soppy. Can just be casual, but like, let's support humans. It's something I'm getting frustrated about in the world right now. Like, humans need more support than ever. The world is really freaking hard. If you're ignoring the areas in which someone needs support, then you're a bad friend. I'm sorry, like, you are, and maybe you should dig into why you don't want to support them in that area. Maybe you don't like them and you need a new friend. Okay, cool. But the communication around support is so freaking key. And I think it can just be so much easier than everybody thinks. The silence is idiotic. I will say that. The silence is idiotic. The only time silence isn't idiotic is like, a public, like, you don't, if it's a stranger and you don't know their needs and you don't have that relationship to be able to ask what their needs, if they don't look like they are in immediate distress, shut up. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if they don't need you, they don't need you. Don't assume just because they're using a device of some sort that they need your help, Clark Kent, because very well may be not the freaking case, okay? So you don't want to be an asshole. I know there's fear about being the asshole, so just be cool. Use your gut instincts. I know you're a good little human. Use your gut instincts when approaching someone who may need help. And they may communicate to you that they don't need help. And that's why just checking in very casually is really great, because then if the answer is no, then everybody just moves on. It's not a big deal, I've had people check in too much with me. It doesn't bother me so much. Like, people, like, my device sometimes continues to go off, and yeah, the multiple check-ins are really annoying. Like, I will let you know. And that's something I, as the person with the thing going off, need to communicate the first time. So if it goes off, someone checks in, is like, are you okay, Taylor? Are you okay to continue? I often am like, yep, no problem. I'll let you know. And if I say I'll let you know, then you shut up on the rest of those medical alerts, because it means I'm managing my shit, okay? Now, okay, of course, to take everything with a grain of salt, because of course there's a bunch of what if scenarios. Like, what if, Taylor, you're literally about to pass out and faint? Can I call an ambulance for you? Absolutely. Even if I didn't ask. Like, let's not be dumb. But in terms of just everyday stuff, I think we can all be cool about it. I think we can be cool about it. Last point, though, you also don't have to always check in. Like, again, just because someone has, like, let's say a mobility device or anything like that, or medical equipment, like, they don't necessarily need your help. Like, I just want to reiterate that. Like, that's how it can enter the, like, childlike zone. Like, assuming someone can't do something. That's not good. That happens to me a lot, weirdly, and I often just tend to speak on the diabetic experience. But, like, sometimes I'll be eating with a group of strangers and they'll, like, apologize to me, and I'm like, I can eat, you assholes. But, it's just I'm trying to be sensitive, so it's not like a bad thing at the end of the day, because the intention's in the right place. But the better you can get at asking, it is better. But also, you can't just assume. It really does make an ass out of you and me. Like, you cannot just assume that if someone has a mobility device that they need your help. Honestly, if they're a grown individual and do not look to be in distress, why would you other them? Right? So I know it's a fine line. You may make mistakes. But if you want to be someone who can support people, which I think everyone wants to be a human that can support other humans, then there's going to be, like, the odd clunky moment, but that's okay. I think it just needs to be more okay to start and make mistakes, as long as the intention is good. I'm just editing the podcast, and I'm just going back over that, like, how to communicate, how to support. I get that it's hard. It's not going to be the same across the board for everyone. Everyone's going to have different feelings about it. But what I do know is that humans need to help humans right now. So let's get good at it. If we don't let it be clunky, how do we get good at it? Okay? I messaged a friend the other day. She posted, I've met this person once, but they posted on their story and they were like stressed about this, blah, blah. And I was like, hey, if you ever need someone to call, you can call me and vent. Like, let's just start helping each other and people will let us know how to help us better. And if we all do that, it'll work out, I think. For the survival guide, you need to learn the word balance, because I think you could drive yourself absolutely insane if you were always perfect with your disease. I physically cannot always be perfect with my disease. Every chronic illness, every disease, every disability has burnout. Diabetes burnout is so real, it's crazy. Like, we spend 4 extra hours per day making health decisions than someone who doesn't exist in a body that's pancreas is dead, okay? That is 180 more choices and about our own health and self-care that we have to make in a day. We're exhausted, okay? Burnout is so real. You need to come up with ways to not burn out. And one of those ways for me is to sometimes, like I tried to do yesterday, although it backfired, go have a normal day where I pick a normal meal. And I don't worry about the fact that I'm going to eat potatoes and have a horrible time afterwards, because sometimes I just need to eat a crispy chicken sandwich like every other fucking human on the planet can. Sometimes I just need to exist and pretend that my body's not going to be a piece of shit to me afterwards. Now that's toxic advice, because my body was a piece of shit to me afterwards, okay? But my mental health, if I had ordered a salad at that table, I would have been fucking sad for the rest of the day. So the balance sometimes is just choosing to live. And that's how I word it. Sometimes I just choose to live. I cannot do it the majority of the time. I rarely do it if you look at the grand scheme of things and the grand scheme of my week, but I do it because it matters to me, and that's what holds me back from a complete mental health breakdown burnout. For me in diabetes, like, if you took away normal eating patterns, which this disease has done, it is frustrating, especially as someone who just loves food, loves to live life, loves to get lunch. Like, to make that a stressful activity sucks. It fucking sucks. So sometimes I just go and I just exist. And I pay for it like I'm paying for it now. It doesn't always mean the risk equals reward or is worth the reward. But it does mean that I am fighting the burnout. I'm fighting the narrative. I can't be perfect all the time. If I try to be perfect all the time, I will burn out and I will be a sad human. And I can't let myself do that because I have to do a lot of work to take care of myself. I cannot get sad. I can't get in the dumps. I've got a lot of stuff to do. Since it's summertime, I'm going to get an ice cream every time I go to the cottage. And I'm just going to do my best to pad the sidings of that. So pre-bolusing, getting good at getting like the estimate right, and making sure it's not before bedtime so that I have a lot of time to just walk it off, play with my dog, and move that insulin through my body so that that ice cream doesn't then become a curse later. You know, I often get away with this. Yesterday I did not, but when I try to do my little balancing act, I often get away with it decently. Yesterday was a time where the risk was just a risk and I didn't get reward, but that's rare. Oftentimes I'm very rewarded by getting to eat something that brings me joy. And yes, my numbers aren't perfect afterwards, but they don't go to such a colossal dangerous area. But I'm running that risk, and this is toxic advice, but I don't think there's a perfect way to exist in a body that isn't perfect health. Your brain matters too. You work so hard to fight these diseases, to live with these diseases, to exist, to thrive. It almost feels impossible to thrive sometimes. So whatever you have to do, I think it's okay. I really, really do. You know, I really do. You know, there's a lot of sacrifices I made for this disease. A lot of things that I just don't do anymore. I made a lot of cuts in lifestyle, in diet, in socialization, whatever. But then there's just some areas where I now know, no, I can't make cuts here all the time. I can't make cuts here 100% of the time. If I always made cuts when going to a restaurant, I would stop going to restaurants because I, quite frankly, never want to spend fucking $25 on a fucking salad. I just fucking don't. If I do, it better be the best freaking salad on the planet. I do that enough times, especially at nighttime. So I guess we can move into tip number 3 on the guide. So we've got communication, we've got balance. Tip number 3, find your hacks. Okay? I now do not eat anything fun. Let's use the word quote unquote fun. I don't eat anything fun after 5 p.m. Okay? I have a salad every night after 5 p.m. I do not eat fun things after 5 p.m. because that gives me enough time for me to, when I eat the fun thing, I've got enough time to deal with the fallout if there's a bad fallout from it. You know, like going to lunch yesterday and getting that crispy chicken sandwich ended in disaster, but look how much day I had left to solve the problem. Like when that problem happens at 8 p.m. like it used to with this disease, when it would happen at like 8 p.m. or 9 p.m., I would then go to bed at 1 a.m. That wasn't good for me either, okay? So I have made this hack. Okay, when I want to eat fun things like ice cream, potatoes, fries, I just make sure I've got enough time to deal with any issues, okay, when I can. And sometimes that means, like this rule sometimes makes me really fucking sad, okay? This is a sad episode because chronic illness is fucking sad, okay? I'm sorry. Sometimes that rule makes me really sad because I will be in scenarios, and it happens often enough, like where I come home from a comedy show and I'm hungry, but I don't want to eat because I don't want to deal with the issues that come with eating at night. And ever since I made this rule, I've gotten full night sleeps. I used to wake up to lows, highs. My sleep sucked. I was chronically exhausted as well as chronically ill. It didn't work for me. Now, this tip is not going to work for everyone. I don't suggest you should even try it. I just am suggesting that you need to find some sort of hack to live by that lets you have the balance, but also have the health, have the peace of mind. Those hacks are so important, you know? And yeah, there's the odd shitty night where I come home from something and I want a snack and I'm like, no, Taylor, don't, because it's just not worth it. It genuinely tends to not be worth it. And yes, I have rewired my entire life to try to like exist with this disease. Yes, I have, you know, but that's what it is. This disease is what it is. She's not going anywhere. I have to find my hacks and my survival guide. All of this advice might be toxic, okay? But and this might be depressing, but I don't think there's a perfect way to exist with this shit. Other than you've got to choose life. You've got to find hacks that let you choose life in some sort of way. And no, it's not going to look the same as everyone else's. I'm disabled. How could my day look like an abled body's day? Mine fucking can't. Like some people can just eat a banana and have no stress, okay? How could my life look like theirs when I can't eat a banana and not have stress? You know? So let's get on to tip 4? Energy allocation. You've heard me talk about this before. Anger, frustration, sadness. Those are things that are going to come along with chronic illness. They go hand in hand, baby. But where you put them matters. Where you put that frustrated energy matters, that angry energy, that sad energy. If I put that sad energy into my chest and just existed with that sadness and didn't make any changes, eventually that sadness wins. I can't let that happen. So instead, I take that sadness from, like, let's say it's a night I come home and I can't eat before bed because it's going to stress me out and cause like a really bad sleep because it's too late at night. You can eat, by the way, like cheese with diabetes. Like some things don't spike your blood sugars, but anyway, it just sucks and it's not great. I can take that sadness and the next morning put an extra spoonful of sugar in my coffee, have a loaded oatmeal breakfast, and make up for it. I apologize that a lot of these things are attached to food, by the way. It's just with diabetes, my disease is so wholeheartedly linked with food. It's crazy. So it's just all the hacks kind of go around food in a sense. But that's where I'll put that sadness the next morning. I'll be like, fuck you. I'll take that sadness and I'll be like, fuck, put it into the fuck you bucket and go, I'm going to have the best fucking breakfast. I'm going to have the best fucking coffee tomorrow morning. Like, don't you even fucking worry about it. See? Toxic but positive, right? Anger. I can take anger and put that into F you disease. You're not going to stop me from living my life. And then I go bungee jumping. I don't know. I haven't done that. I have no desire to do that, but I could. If one day I was angry enough, I could be like, fuck it, I'm going to go fucking bungee jump. Putting those negative emotions into more positive, proactive, or healing things is good. It is good. Number 5, therapy. I am in therapy right now. It's interesting. It's not life-changing yet, but I'm trying not to quit yet. It's been good, but there are other forms of therapy that may help you. Please get an actual therapist if the need is super great. But, some people will be like, Pilates is therapy to me. Yoga is therapy to me. My dog is therapy to me. Calling a friend is therapy to me. Like, there are ways you can find very healing resources in this earth, and you need to find those. Number 6, swim, don't sink, okay? You need to keep swimming. So you need to do the things that allow you to keep swimming. So you need to find joy, okay? You need to find joy in your everyday, whether that is, and you need to avoid the stressors. For example, I used to love going to the gym. The gym has been ruined a little bit for me because of diabetes, okay? It just has been. That's not going to be across the board for every diabetic. And everything I say is not across the board for any diabetic or any disabled person. This is just like from my mouth, right? Like from my experience. I find the gym very frustrating now because when I go and I need sugar, it pisses me off. It interrupts the workout. I don't know what to do after I start going low. It fucking gets me enraged. I hate it. So what I've started doing is just walking. I've subbed it out. Why would I, and maybe one day I will try to go back to the gym, okay? But a lot of my thinking is often like, why would I fight something that wants to kill me? And that sounds dramatic, but I mean, why would I fight something pointless? That's just how it feels. Why would I choose to fight at something pointless? Now, if the gym was your passion and taking it out of your life because of your chronic illness would make your quality of life worse, then you need to find hacks that can get you to the gym. No problem. Absolutely. For me, though, I was like, maybe I will just walk a lot. And let me tell you, I walk a lot and I love it. I feel good about myself. I find mental peace in it. I touching grass. It works for me, baby. So I do it. That's kind of a part of the hack category, but it's also just, keep swimming. So if something's not working, if you're just trying to swim and you bump into a log, you would have to be insane to bump into that log 1,000 times before realizing, I should just go around this log. This log is really holding me up. Why don't I go around it? See what's on the other side, baby. That's what I want you to do. That's not me saying quit on things, because you don't need to quit on things. You do need to move around things, though. It's to think it's just going to be the way it was before you got sick. Impossible, right? That's just insanity to bump your head. What's the definition of insanity? I think it's like doing something again and again that doesn't work. Or something like that. Don't quote me on that. But you could move around that log and still be going down the path and thinking, I liked that log, though. I wonder how I can include that log in my future life. No problem. Don't give up on the things you love. I think that's key as well. So tip number 6, 7, I don't know what we're at. Don't give up on the things you love. If you love the gym, find a way to get there, okay? Find a way to to exist in that space, you might have to change things, and there's going to be a mourning period for the thing you have to let go of, absolutely. But you don't have to give up things entirely. Now, I am not one for toxic positivity, as we know. I'm very cynical and a rat. But I will say, just to end us off here, like, you can still do anything you set your mind to. Your mind just has to be more creative. I hope that sinks in. Because I'm not going to tell you that it's going to be the exact same. Because it won't be. It's impossible. And I'm sorry about that. And there is a mourning period about that. You know, you have that mourning period. You can be sad about that. You can talk to a therapist. You can take your time with that. But it doesn't mean you can't have that thing in some way. You just have to be more creative. And I know it sucks. I know it sucks to have to be more creative. I know it can be more frustrating to have to always be creative, to have to always be anxious, to have to always be switched on. I know all of this. At no point will anyone ever say that having chronic illness is fair. At no point will anyone say that it is fun, because it is neither of those things. It's not fair. It's not fun. There's no reason for it. You could ask the universe again and again and again, why me? Everything happens for a reason, doesn't it? Well, I don't know about this one. I really don't. I really don't, because it's really hard to be sick. And there's kind of no rhyme or reason to it. Unless you find the rhyme or reason to it. Right? Unless you find it. Because something sad and dark, there isn't really a reason that it should be happening to you. But what you can do with that is find the reason. I think I've said this before, but like maybe in the future, like the thing that was tough for you, you go and help someone else with, and you will find meaning, and you will go, this is why I have this, so I can share this piece, right? You can find silver linings in it, but what did I say that one time, which I thought was a fire quote? They call it silver, not gold, baby. It's not a gold lining. It's silver. It's second place. It's a consolidation prize. Like, it's not as good, okay? But it's still a good thing. So I'll leave you with that, my rats. I'm really working on the podcast, by the way. I really want to get better at this, but I'm really glad I started, because I mean, a lot of you have said really kind things, which I really, really appreciate. But I also just think, like, you got to just start. Like, nothing's perfect. Don't wait for things to be perfect. Hope that people have patience to stick with you while you get better at it. And I really plan on getting better at podcasting. But you know what's amazing? Like, even just the 85 of you that listen, like, I'm learning so much about myself. It's like therapy time for me. There's so much benefits. So again, back to our failure episode, it's like, you're never failing. You really are never failing. There's always something you can take out of it. So that's kind of amazing. But if you haven't left a review and you would like to, that would be awesome. And if you don't mind hyping me up on socials when you can, save, share, like, whatever, it really helps me out. Comment, you know. But I'm sending a lot of love. Again, I'm not the perfect person to talk about this. I'm just a person with these things that's talking about this, okay? So, like, there's the clarification for anything. Always seek out professional advice, and always seek out more information if things aren't resonating. That's totally fair. I love you guys. That's the end of the episode.